don't have any management policies
That's
for them
true.
that are.
But talking about Guy Pascal, he was the guy who started the town of Longboat Key. He invented airwick, and he was a chemist.
Now, what is airwick?
Airwick is something you put
Like an air freshener?
air freshener,
So you plug it in,
or
and
you.
it gives off.
Wow.
He was a chemist.
Wow.
But it was very popular and really sold back in the 50s.
Oh, yes.
And didn't he have a talk show, like a radio,
He
a
did
controversial
He
radio
did
talk
on the radio
show?
station in Sarasota.
Uh-huh.
And when he came out here, he decided that we ought to have a town. And there was great consternation because a lot of people didn't want a town. If you have a town, you have taxes. And they also have restrictions. Well, he engineered it, and at the final vote, which was held, I think, at the Mar Vista, the proponents of it got up and spoke, and the opponents, one of them was a guy who was an amateur boxer.
Was that Roy Ruiz?
No, I forgot it. It's in my
Flanagan, wasn't it?
Flanagan, yeah, it's in our book,
Right?
which is called From Calusas to Condominiums.
Yeah,
It's
you
a
can
history.
show the book if you
Oh,
pick
yeah.
it up and.
Yeah.
The Historical
Here's
Society
this
has
is a book
copies.
on the history of Longboat Key, and everything we talk about here is in this book.
Yeah, and Ralph and Claire worked on that book, and then we
Ralph wrote
published it at the Historical
Yeah.
Society a couple of years ago, and
republished.
republished it, and we have we got 750 copies, so we have
deal.
plenty of copies, and they sell well, and
Oh, that's-
we certainly appreciate what you did to help us.
Well, Claire and I wrote the book starting in '95 when we sold the Observer.
And it is
We worked on it for about 7 years.
it is the definitive book on Longboat Key right
Well,
now.
I guess so.
That and Laura Whitney's
Yeah.
book are the two best books that we have.
Absolutely. Well, let's go on now.
How much longer do you
If you
want?
want to take a break, we can stop anytime, and then you can just pick up. Do
No.
you want to get a drink of water, or?
You want anything? I don't. I'm
Okay,
fine.
well then let's
Fine.
just go on.
In 1952, there was an argument over Longboat Pass. Manatee County had decided we don't want a bridge there, we want a causeway. And the fishermen on Longboat Key said, no, we don't want a causeway on
And
Longboat Pass."
Cortez.
And Cortez, we didn't want a causeway, we want a bridge. Oh, no. So they finally had a big meeting, and it was, the idea of a causeway was defeated.
Well, back then the boats, I've talked to the fishermen about it, and they said the boats only went 5 miles an hour. So if you were going to go fish in the pass and you had to go all the way around the north end of Anna Maria Island, you would make what would normally be a 1 hour trip into a
5 hours.
all-day trip.
Yeah.
You know, back and forth. That would be several, hours.
Right. In 1952, the Art Center was started at the present location. And there have been attempts to move it, but never happened. So the Art Center is now there. It's in combination now with the Ringling.
It's combined with.
Yeah.
Ring.
And it's very popular. In 1954, there was a political situation there where a guy who was running for commissioner in Sarasota County decided he needed the Negro vote. So he was going to have a Negro beach on Longboat Key. And
Because they didn't have.
they didn't have, these were the days of segregation, early 50s. And Longboat Key didn't necessarily want a private beach for blacks. As a matter of fact, the blacks just wanted equality. They didn't want a private beach. And so, strangely enough, the whole thing died, and there was never a black beach on
Well,
Longboat
somebody
Key.
said, I could say Kent Chetland, but I don't really remember who it was. But he said that may have been posturing to get the people of Longboat Key to form a town.
It's
That
possible.
they actually had a picnic out here.
Oh, yeah.
And that he thought that could have been part of the.
It very likely could have been.
But I don't remember. I can't quote somebody that I
Right.
don't really remember. But I remember hearing that, and I thought, well, that was interesting.
That is true, because just at this time, they decided that they if Sarasota was going to zone, if they were to go to control our zoning, we better have our own people do the zoning. So they started that, and
That's when the town was formed.
the town was formed.
And they
then.
had fist fights over it.
Oh,
and,
they had everything.
and Guy Pascal, you know, they used to drink a lot back in those days. And Guy Pascal one time came here to a party, and he told everyone that he was not going to go anywhere that weekend unless he walked on his hands. So apparently he was pretty physically fit to
He
be
was
able to
indeed.
walk on his hands.
Right.
And Mother's the one who told me the story, and she just, you know, was fun to think of the old days of them
Right.
having nothing better to do than sit around and have drinks and watch the raccoons eat the food,
And watch
and
the
then
guy
have
walk on
Guy
his
Pascal
hands, huh?
walk on his hands everywhere.
Oh God, that's marvelous.
But he was in one of the fist fights, I think. I think
Oh,
that
yes.
was
Yeah, he was, and
What was
he
the
was in
story
a fight
about
with Flanagan.
Yeah.
And Flanagan was in his cups and wanted to fight. And Guy Pascal said, "Look, when you're sober, I'll be glad to fight you." "No, I'll fight you now, and I'm a semi-professional boxer." He said, "Well, that's fine, but just get lost, because I don't want to fight a drunk."
Well, did you ever hear anything about Roy Ruiz? You know, Roy Ruiz
How do you spell it?
Ruis. He built the apartments where I live now, and I just was interested if there was
No.
any information. He was supposedly a retired boxer.
Really? Oh boy.
Never heard.
Well, they had the fights at Mar Vista.
Paper
Charles
down.
Flanagan was there. They fought with tire irons and golf clubs.
This is covering your face.
Oh, I'm sorry. The final vote was 98-3 to create a
Wow. Well, that's amazing. You don't get that kind of vote on anything.
And when that happened, Guy, Pascal, and Melody wanted a fire engine because they wanted to raise funds because they had a big fire, the 1954. Pardon me, the Buccaneer fire, and the Buccaneer, a lot of the cabins just burned down. They called the fire department in Sarasota, and they said, "Yeah, we'll come out if you'll guarantee payment." So Melody said, "Yeah, okay, I'll pay you." So 26 minutes later, the fire engines got here. By that time, it was pretty well gone. 2 men had passed out. General Harris opened the bar when it was finally under control. And they said, "Melody, will you please pour the drinks?" "Yeah, sure," said Melody. So she poured the drinks all right. She
No,
poured
thank
8
you.
ounces of straight bourbon in each glass and handed it out to the people. Well, boy, they were sure. Yeah,
Anesthetized.
they sure were. Well, the town was founded in 55, and 57, Longboat Pass South opened over here. It was closed in 63.
That's not south, that's north.
I know.
Or maybe you're talking about the Beer Can Island pass.
Beer Can Island, yeah. It was closed.
It was like
opened
during
in-
Hurricane Donna or something
Yeah.
like that.
And then they opened it up again, then it was closed again by another storm. And finally they dredged it to what it is now, which is not where it was. Where it was is about 200 yards south of where it is today.
Yeah, well, the pass has just changed an incredible amount.
We had a shark attack in 1958 off Trailer Park. A boy was swimming and he lost an arm to a shark. They never said anything about it. But
Yeah, they dragged him up on the beach and
Yes,
they
they
had to
did.
beat the shark off of him or something. It was pretty
oh,
gruesome.
boy. The bridge over Longboat Pass is finished. This
Did
was-
you know they had a shark attack off of New College? There was a student swimming at night. They were
Oh,
drinking,
yes.
and
I
they were
did
having a
dinosaur.
party, and the shark
In the
grabbed
bay?
a young woman by the body, her thoracic cavity, put his teeth around her body, and then spit her out because it wasn't what he wanted.
Did
But-
she recover?
Oh yeah, she looks great. She has the greatest teeth imprint on her body. Perfect jaw, like you could see the teeth everywhere.
Isn't that
And
awful?
it just grabbed her and then decided this
When was
wasn't
this?
the one. About 10 years ago.
No, I don't remember.
And I met the girl and I saw the wounds and I went, wow. I said, that is amazing.
Yeah, so you ought to do a story on that.
Yeah. But it was New College tried to keep it
Oh,
quiet.
boy.
But
In 1959, Arvida buys the Ringling properties. He bought 2,000 acres on Longboat Key for $13 million, which in those days was quite a,
Arthur Vining Davis.
And in 1960, Pelican Harbor was discovered to be an abortion mill. They had a dock where the boats could unload the gals who needed abortions, and it was a whole abortion clinic.
Wow.
They did a marvelous job, and it was finally closed up. They discovered it. In the art center, they had a Gay 90s review, marvelous. They wanted to. We have a town now. Town hall was proposed to be on some islands, right off of this. Right
The
off.
town island.
Yeah, town islands, and everything was fine. It was approved by the state and rejected by the commissioners.
Well, probably the cost of doing that would have been huge.
I don't know. But in any case, and then they voted
This
on
down so they can see your face.
Should the commissioners vote by districts? I mean, should you elect your own commissioner by your own district? And that was disapproved, 166 to 161. It was that close, and it came up again when the north end, when the south end wanted to secede. They had another vote, same thing. The Southerners wanted to secede from Longboat Key.
Because all the business and all was on the north end then. And the
Well, there
south-
weren't that many people. I tell people, 1960, when I was like, 9 years old, there were only less than 1,000 people on the whole island. So you're talking about if most of the people were at the north end, that wasn't very many people.
Yeah, when the Ritz-Carlton was leveled in 1963, 3 kids had been killed in the Ringling-Carlton, in the Ritz-Carlton, are falling down the elevator shaft.
When they would play hide and seek and they'd go
No,
there
there's
to
a
drink and do
These are
games.
fraternity initiations.
Yeah, but it was just.
Oh, yeah. That was a shame. Oh, yes, the Cross Bay Bridge, that's still up in the air. They wanted to build a bridge from Longboat Key to the mainland. And they had that was proposed in 1969, then in 73, then in 78, then in 80, and then in 81. And in each case, it was debated and then tabled. So they put it on the shelf. A couple of years later, it would come up again.
Well, to give you an idea, this bridge was built in '58, and in 1990s, like 1995, they came and said, "We are here to replace your bridge. Your bridge is a certain amount of time old, and
Yeah.
automatically after 30 years or whatever, we look at replacing bridges."
Right.
So anyway, this bridge was supposed to be replaced in the 90s, and the
Still there.
town said they weren't interested in replacing it, that they would put that off till later, and so now this bridge is,
Well, wasn't
58 to now, that's over 50 years old.
Now, did the town reject it?
Yeah, the town rejected it, and there
Sounds
was,
like the town.
What?
Sounds like.
It sounds like the town, yeah. I
but
wonder.
they wanted to build a big bridge, like,
High-rise, huh?
when they have money and everything's going in that direction, now they have no money.
Oh, boy.
But they wanted to build a 60-foot bridge or 65-foot bridge that would have no draw.
Yeah.
Because that's the tendency,
Sure.
like the bridge over to Sarasota, so that they don't have to stop and start and keep the bridge tender.